Cottonwood Farms virtual chat. I am Brittney with the Discover Dairy program, and we are so excited that you are joining us today as we get to meet Farmer Tim and, of course, your adorable adopted calves, Cheesecake, Cookie, and Strudel. First, this live chat is part of the Adopt a Cow program. More than 40,000 teachers and 1 million students every year join the fun for free, thanks to our generous supporters like the Dairy Management West and the Dairy Excellence Foundation. The Adopt a Cow and Discover Dairy programs are a free online resource that cover Common Core standards in math, reading, and science, all while using dairy concepts to teach those lessons. The resources can be found at discoverdairy.com, and we'll go ahead and put that in the chat for you to have easy access to that link. We'd also love for you to join the Adopt a Cow Fund next year. So if you're interested in joining again, or you're new to the program and want to join the fund, registration and re-enrollment actually opens today. So starting today until September 15th, you can go to discoverdairy.com/adopt, ADOPT, and there you can log in and re-enroll if you're returning, or if you're a new member, you can go to discoverdairy.com/adopt to create an account and get started. And next, as everyone continues to join us live today, you'll see that chat feature is enabled. Please feel free to go ahead and use that chat feature to comment and ask questions all throughout our time together. We do just ask that you make sure you keep those questions and comments related to our conversation and school appropriate. We are very excited to hear from you, and I know Farmer Tim is excited to answer. Now, before we go to Farmer Tim, let's see who is joining us today. So let's check out that chat. And from the very beginning, we had some folks join us. We had Mrs. Dosh's second grade class who was here with Strudel, and they cannot wait to hear from you. So hello all, and thank you for joining us. We've got Miss Salazar's class. Hello and welcome. Hello to Miss Kiker's third grade class in Redding, California. We've got some folks from California too. Hello and welcome. We've got Miss Catherine's third grade class in Elko, Nevada. Hello and welcome. We've got a big hello to Miss Young's kindergarten class in Las Vegas, Nevada, and they're excited to see Cheesecake. We have a big hello to Mrs. Werner's kindergarten class in Chico, California. Greetings and welcome to Mrs. Yates' second grade class in Crescent City, California. Let's see if we can find one or two more down here yet. We've got another shout out to Miss Martinez's pre-K class another one in Las Vegas. Hello. And how about Miss Alfred's third grade class who's also joining us today? And I know there's many more of you. We're excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. You know where that chat is now. Go ahead and use that to submit your questions and any comments throughout our time today. We will be passing those questions and comments to Farmer Tim as we're chatting with him today. And speaking of Farmer Tim, I am pleased to introduce you to him. So, hey, Farmer Tim, how are you doing today?
Hey, Brittany, I'm doing great. So good to be able to join with you guys and to have this chat. So excited. So we're here today with my three calves, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about me. I know it's the boring part. I'm sorry, but just a little bit about me and my family and why we do what we do. So I'm actually I'm a fourth generation dairy farmer here I live in Fallon, Nevada. So that's kind of northwest Nevada. And we have a dairy now that we milk 1,600 cows. And then we have all of our young female calves, we raise them. So we have another probably about 12 to 1,400 heifer calves. So those are young female calves. So in total, we have about 3,000 animals on our properties. Where we're at right here, right now, this is our heifer area. So this is where all of our younger heifers are, where we raise them up and get them ready to become mama cows and in our milking parlor. So our dairy was established in 1958, so it's been around for a little while. And then before that, my great grandfather, where he homesteaded kind of here in the area, is just a quarter mile away from where I'm standing right now. So my family hasn't moved a whole lot from where my great grandfather came here to Fallon. So we're pretty close. And I have a few other family members that are part of our operation. But I've been doing this pretty much most of my life. And when I was younger and had to do a lot of the hard work where I was sweating and my dad was making me do stuff, I wasn't too happy. But once I left home and went to school, I realized how much I loved to work outside, how much I enjoyed working with the animals and with the equipment. growing crops and all of that was just something I really enjoyed. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm still doing it today.
Oh, that's amazing. Isn't it funny? We hear that a lot. I think I've heard that very similar experience for a lot of farmers. You grow up with it, you're like, man, I don't know about this. You leave it and you realize how amazing it really is when you leave it for a couple of years. You're like, oh yeah, I'm coming back. This is where I belong the rest of my life. That's pretty cool, Farmer Tim. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And,
Awesome. Go ahead.
and I was just gonna say, so one thing I did realize as well was my dad made me do all those hard things when I was little.
Hmm.
And I realized as I got older that he was teaching me something. He was teaching me something very important that would have helped me through whatever I did in life. But he made me do
Hmm.
these hard things to show me that life's about doing hard stuff, and sometimes we
Yeah.
don't like to do it and we don't want to do it. But by doing that, there's people that's needed in this world. Hard
Yeah.
work, doing the rough stuff that not everybody wants to do, but it's still part of life, and that could transition into any job that you take. There's hard things you have to do, things you're not going to love doing, but they need to get done in a fast and in an efficient way. And if
Yeah.
we can learn to do that when we're little, that makes us, it helps us so much when we're adults right now. So
Yeah.
hard lessons I learned, but I'm grateful today for them. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure they've made you an excellent farmer and an excellent caretaker of our adorable calves that we've loved following this year. So, Farmer Tim, I know we are lucky enough to get to spend some time with them today. Do you want to go ahead and give us an update on how they're doing?
I'd love to. So we've got Cookie there on the left, we've got Cheesecake over here on the right, and we've got Strudel in the middle. So they're
Oh,
all here together. And the unique thing the cool thing about cows is they're all different shapes, they're different sizes. I mean, they kind of look pretty much alike, but the longer you're with them, the more you realize that they do have different characteristics when it comes to their body type. So you can
hmm.
see these three here, some are a little taller than others, some are a little wider than others, have a little more muscle in them. Some are a
Hmm.
little more narrow and thin. So it's really interesting. But like right now on average, so these three heifers here, these three calves, they weigh about right around 500, 450 to 500 pounds,
Wow.
and they're about around 44 inches, 44 to 48 inches tall. And as you can see here, they don't drink milk anymore. They're eating. We have a little mix here that we give to our heifer calves to give them lots of energy, lots of protein to help them grow, so they can grow nice and strong and healthy. So we've got
Oh,
like alfalfa hay bales. We have corn silage, which is a corn plant chopped all chopped up and put in a big pit and then siled, and it actually will last a long time for us. So that's a corn silage, it has a lot of energy in it. We have rolled corn, like steam flaked corn. We have canola, which is a source of protein, and all those things all mixed together make a phenomenal feed for the calves at this age to help them grow nice and healthy and strong.
wow. Now, you mentioned a couple of things that sound familiar. Are things like canola a byproduct that you put in your feed?
Yeah, you're exactly right. So cows can eat a lot of byproducts, which are basically a canola is a really pretty flour, and it has these black seeds in it. And they take the seeds and they'll compress them and they'll squish them down really tight, and they can get an oil out of them, which is good for cooking, good for all kinds of different things. But what's left after they smash the seed is just a mush, and really there's not a lot you could do with that. So what we
Hmm.
discovered though years ago, and I don't know who did it, got
Hmm.
somebody smarter than me discovered that that canola mush can actually be dried out and sent and actually consumed by cows. And it's a great source of protein. So we have a couple other things on the dairy farm that we use. We use cottonseed.
Hmm.
Cottonseed is a byproduct. So when you
Wow.
grow cotton, inside there's a seed, and that seed can be fed to animals as well. So a couple things on the farm that we use that are really good. That used to be dumped into a at a dump in a um, or burned. Things that just was
Right.
a waste product we could actually
Hmm.
use.
That is amazing. So cows are able to take products, we're making things for our convenience and our comfort. They're able to take the waste from things that we're making for us, eat that, and it's good energy and protein for them and vitamins and minerals and add it to their diet. And they're able to turn that into energy. And of course, our grown cows can turn that into milk, which is even cooler. So they are able to eat things that otherwise would go to waste and be great upcyclers. Thank you for sharing that. That's really neat that your cows are able to do that. That kind of makes them superheroes in my book. I don't know about you, Farmer Tim.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so while we've been seeing our beautiful girls here, we had a pretty quick question come up, and I'm sure you were expecting this question to come up. We just had some curious folks what the pink mark was on their forehead. Do you mind just talking about what that pink mark was for?
So I had some of my employees, some of the guys who work for me, help me find the calves. So the calves are in these bigger pens. There's about 70 calves in the pens. So
Hmm.
I told them I needed these calf numbers as the ones I needed. And well, they went and marked them so that they could distinguish them in the herd. So then we could
Gotcha.
bring them out of the pen and set them in here off to the side. So that's a way we actually utilize that a lot on our
Hmm.
operation. Anytime we need to move cows around from pen to pen, we will put a little mark. It washes off. It's totally safe. Doesn't hurt them. It's not
Hmm.
permanent. It'll be
Hmm.
rubbed off within the day. But it's
Right.
just a way to help us, just a tool for us.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So you mentioned you've got a lot of animals on the farm to try and keep track of communication between everybody and make sure we picked our three girls out correctly. That was just used as a marking. So very good, very good. I'm glad that hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So it'll wash off. It's almost like when we give a little temporary tattoo or maybe we draw a flower on our hand with a marker or something similar thing. They just have a
Yep,
temporary tattoo for the day.
exactly.
Awesome. Let's see. So we've had some good questions come in, Farmer Tim. So we'll go ahead and dive into a couple of those. Um, so one question that was coming in, you mentioned how many cows you have. Plum Valley Elementary SURF programs K to 5 students. We're wondering how many calves do you have in one year?
Oh, in 1 year. Oh boy,
Hmm.
that's a great question. Um, that's a good one. So in a year, we probably, I mean, pretty close to uh, the goal would be to have 1,600, because we want to have
Hmm.
our cows having a calf once a year. So that's our
Gotcha.
goal. That doesn't always happen though, but we're probably pretty close to that. And now
Yeah.
we have some that are girl cows, some that are boy cows, and
Hmm.
the boy cows we can't really utilize them on our operation because we need the female cows. So there's other businesses that will actually come and buy those calves from us
Hmm.
and then they'll take them off and they'll use them for different things. And a lot of them raise them up and actually use them. They'll end up going for beef, for hamburger, for all those
Hmm.
yummy things, steaks, and all those yummy things we get to eat. So
Yeah.
that's what we do. So we typically should be right around. I'd say probably between 14 and 1,500 calves a year is right about where we should be.
Wow, that's amazing. So you kind of answered some other questions that were coming in. So it's about one calf per year per cow.
Yep.
And so do they always just have one calf at a time? Do they ever have twins or triplets?
They can have twins. Triplets is rare. It was funny because I remember growing up, I would hear of triplets a little more often, but since I've been working full time, I have not witnessed us having triplets at all. Um, Twins are rare as well. They're not super. I mean, typically it's one calf, but there will be twins here and there. So,
Hmm. And that makes sense. I guess the dairy industry, you as a dairy farmer are always trying to improve the genetics of your herd. And you as a farmer know it's safest and healthiest for a cow to have one calf. So I'm sure over years and over time, everyone breeds to try and have one good healthy calf. So it's possible the twins are just kind of naturally being selected out just because you're making sure every cow has a healthy and best chance on their farm. So I think that makes sense that maybe it would shift a little bit over time. Yeah,
yep,
absolutely.
yep, yep.
Let's see. Oh, we've got a question for you, Farmer Tim. This one is asking you, what's your favorite part about being a dairy farmer? And maybe what's the trickiest part about being a farmer?
That's a really good question. As I've gotten older and I've had opportunities to do things like this, to be able to get on and chat with people who may not never have an opportunity to be on a dairy farm,
Hmm.
this has been one of my favorite things. Like really, to just share something I love and
Yeah.
to know that people care enough to get on and do this.
Hmm.
I love this. This is great. I'm on a board here locally where I'm able to travel. I go down to Las Vegas sometimes. I'm able to meet with classes down there. That's
Oh,
my
cool.
favorite. I love to be able to go into classes. In fact, here in my hometown, I was invited to go into an elementary class, and I was able to share about their calf that they had, and that was awesome. Like
Oh.
I love that. Um, when it comes to actual dairy farming, that's a tough one because it's just there's a lot of fun stuff. But I get to operate some awesome machinery.
Mm-hmm.
I get to come out here and I get to work outside every day. I mean, really, I
Mm-hmm.
get to go outside. Sometimes, some days, weather is hard. That's the hard part about it. Really
Mm-hmm.
bad weather can be a tough thing. Um, when it
Yeah.
comes to raising crops, that's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Sure.
if weather's not cooperating very well, then there's not a lot I could do. So I rely a lot upon, really faith. You got to have faith to plant a
Mm-hmm.
seed and believe that it's going to grow for you. You got to have faith to believe you can plant it and you'll have the water to provide it what it needs in the nutrients. So a lot of that, believe it or not, comes into play in what we do here when we grow our crops.
Yeah,
Some years
absolutely.
things go great and some years they don't go great. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you, Farmer Tim. I appreciate that. And speaking of that, so we can see all of our girls here behind you and our adopted calves. We're outside kind of in the open right now. Now, it happens to be a beautiful day, but you mentioned, sometimes it's a little bit tricky with some tough weather. What do you do as a farmer? What's available to them to help protect them when the elements do get a little bit tricky? Maybe it's really rainy or really, really hot. What are some things that you have on the farm to help keep them comfortable?
So we have big shades, really big shades for the heat, for the rain, for the snow. Thankfully here where we live, we don't get a lot of rain or snow. We don't rely upon the natural moisture to irrigate our crops. We have a reservoir that
Hmm.
was built back in 19 like it's probably 1920, 1918 around there.
Mm.
They built a reservoir to catch the water that runs off of the Sierra Nevada mountains. So
Hmm.
snow that falls 200 miles away from me comes down the river system it is put in that reservoir, and then they have an elaborate system of little irrigation ditches that brings the water to me. So that's why
Wow.
I found it makes it a nice place to have these open lot pens so the cows can be outside, they can be comfortable, but on those tough days where it is a little rainy or snowy or it's hot and the sun is hot, we do have shades, we have misters, we
Hmm.
have other types of shelter for our younger calves who need a little bit more to help keep them warm.
Hmm.
We provide whatever they need because in order for them to grow and be healthy and happy, they need to be just that. They need to be happy. They need to be
That's
comfortable.
awesome.
So,
Hmm.
sometimes life throws curves at us and we have to do take drastic measures to keep our cows warm, keep them dry. We do that because in
Hmm.
order to keep them, like I say, healthy and happy, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You do everything you can. That's why it's a round the clock experience for you as a farmer to make sure these girls are always happy and content because happy cows are the ones that are going to produce milk. We want them to always be happy and content, and making sure that they're just living the best life they can. Speaking of that, what does their best life kind of look like? What does their day look like, especially for our adopted calves?
Oh, so the calves at this point in their life, they basically are eating and then lying down and hanging out in the shade. If they're hot, they'll get out in the sun and lay out in the corrals if they're cool. And they really are just that's their life. They hang out when they're hungry, they'll get up and eat. When they're full, they go lay down. If they're thirsty, we've got water. They have water available 24 hours a day. If they're
Wow.
thirsty, they go get a drink. Our job really is to keep their corrals. We call it manicure. We manicure their corrals so that they're comfortable. We want to have fluffy, dry manure that they can lay on.
Hmm.
That helps keep them comfortable. In
Hmm.
the wintertime, if they're wet, we need to clean. We got to clean that up and
Yeah.
keep them dry, keep them cool, keep them comfortable, keep them warm if they need to be warm. So that's what
Yeah.
we do to help keep them. And that's basically a day. They just kind of hang out and take it easy.
Dang, they've got an easy life, Farmer Tim. You keep it real easy for them.
Yeah.
Now, if that's what it is for our heifers, I know there's a little bit more to it once they're a milk cow, and I'm sure the milk cows also have food all the time and water all the time. What's that milking process like for a cow? How often does that happen, and how long does that take? What's it feel like for a dairy cow?
So for our dairy cows, we milk them 3 times a day. So they'll get up. Well, we'll get them up from their pens and move them into the barn 3 times a day.
Hmm.
it takes a cow between 2 and 5 minutes to milk. So it's a pretty quick
Wow.
process. Sometimes they got to stand and wait a little bit inside the milking barn just to wait their turn to get in. But our goal is to have them in and out of the barn as fast as we can. We don't
Wow.
want them standing around on cement very long. We want them to be out in the corral, lying down where it's soft and comfortable, and just eating food, drinking water, and hanging out. That's what we want them to do.
Wow. So they really are only going to work for a couple minutes out of the day, and the rest of the time they get to do exactly what our adopted calves do right now is just eat, sleep, and hang out with their herd mates. Sounds
Yep.
like a pretty great life. Now we're talking about those adult cows, ones that are producing milk. When do you consider a cow full grown? When is she considered a mature cow?
So a cow is considered mature at about 4 years old.
Okay.
She'll have her first baby typically around 2 years. So
Okay.
that's usually where we shoot for, about 2 years old, maybe a little older. But to be fully grown and mature, it's about 4 years.
Okay. So they have their first, so even our adopted calves, right, will have their first calf around 2 years old.
Yep.
And then they'll join the milking herd. Their calf will do the exact same thing that their cat that they did growing up on the farm. If they're heifers, then they'll grow up on your herd. And then they'll join the milking herd. And then in about 2 years or so, and you had said before, they have about one calf a year. Then around 4 years old, they'll be full grown. How big do they get when they get to be full grown? About how many pounds do you think they weigh at full grown?
It varies just because cows like humans, there's tall humans, there's short humans, there's all kinds of shapes and sizes. But I'd say
Hmm.
typically about 1,500 pounds. So 1,500 pounds is about the average size, I'd say, give or take, of a
Yeah.
Holstein cow. Yep.
Wow. That's amazing. We had some questions. We were just curious. We noticed how creative and fun the calf names are. We were just curious how you came up with those names.
I failed to mention at the beginning, I have 4 kids. So my 4 kids help me. I've got my oldest is 17, and then the 17, 15, 13, and well, actually 17, 15, 14, and 12.
Oh my goodness.
So they came out when we first started for the year and we're picking the calves out. They came out with me, and then they helped us pick the names. And my
Hmm.
youngest, her name's Isla, and she was leaning more towards wanting to name one cheesecake. And I kind of chuckled, but I thought, well, you know what? We could take that and just say, hey, we're going to go with a theme. We're going to go with delicious treats. And so they helped me come up with cheesecake, cookie, and strudel.
Aw, oh, I love that. So your kids get to be part of the naming process. Very cute. Very
Yes.
cute.
Yep. Yep.
Let's see. We had a couple of questions coming in, and I see it from Mrs. Pelletier's class, but I know I saw a couple others asking it. Why do they have tags in their ears? Can you talk about why we've got those yellow tags?
Yeah, so we've got tags so that there's the numbers there. So those
Hmm.
help us when we're handling them. We know which cows we need to handle. That just helps us identify them. And then those numbers are actually put into a computer program, and I have an app for that program on my phone. So I could punch in the 7986. Let's say we punch in Cheesecake's number,
Hmm.
and I can punch her in my app, and it will come up and it will tell me all the information I need to know about her birth date, how old
Wow.
she is. Once she's an older cow, it'll tell me how many babies she's had. It'll tell me how much milk she's giving. It'll tell me everything that I need to know about that cow in order to take the best care of her as I possibly can. So
Wow.
there's things we need to know. So we have that. There's also, if you've noticed, there's a little, and some of them you can see, some of them you can't. There's a little button in there. There's these little buttons that we put on our cows now. So that's called an RFID. And that's a little button that has a chip in it. And that chip it's unique to this animal. So once I put that little RFID tag, I put that in her ear and I put the information down. So that stays on her from birth till death. That number and
Wow.
anybody, so there's a little chip in there where you can actually run it through a little I guess they're not radio waves. What's the word I'm looking for? Well, anyways, you can scan it
Hmm.
anywhere in the world. If you have the right equipment, you can scan that little tag and it'll beep and it'll tell you where she came from. So that is unique to our farm, to Cottonwood Farm, Cottonwood
Wow.
Dairy.
You
So
know,
that
you
helps
said,
us keep
yeah, go
track of
ahead.
our cows. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
So I just said that helps us keep tags of our cows. But then as the cows leave our place, if they ever are sold or they move on anywhere else, which doesn't happen very often, but if that does happen, they can know exactly where that cow came from anywhere in the world, really.
Wow. So you mentioned that you use an app. I just think it's funny. You often hear people say, well, there's an app for that, but who would have thought there was an app to even manage your cows and quite literally keep tabs on each one of them right at your fingertips? That is amazing. And I guess it makes sense because you've got a lot of cows to keep track of. So having that app really can help you literally keep eyes on all of them at all times. And I'm sure it's a very smart app and you probably can run reports and see if anyone's maybe less active or things like that and go check on them. Is that correct? It kind of helped you in that way too.
Yes,
That's awesome.
technology is essential in order for us to stay in business. Like
Yeah.
we have got to be on the cutting edge of technology because all technology, basically why it exists is to help us to do things better and
Yeah.
more efficient. So we want to learn and we want to implement anything that we can that is going to be better for our animals. So we are
Yeah.
constantly looking, listening, going to meetings, trying to learn any new technology, any new techniques, anything that they're discovering that can help us to better raise and better take care of our animals.
Wow, I love that. So you're mentioning that this is a great tool that you use to manage and maintain and keep track of your animals. We've had a couple of people curious about, obviously our calves look like they're healthy and happy and they're doing great, but the reality is some animals can get a little under the weather sometimes, and I'm sure that helps you detect when a calf or a cow is sick. Are there any other ways you can tell if a cow is maybe not feeling well or under the weather, and what do you do as a farmer to help them feel better?
There's some neat technology that's out there. There are these little pills you can actually put into their stomachs that
Hmm.
keeps track of their temperature. And you can see if a cow's not feeling well by if she spikes a fever.
Hmm.
But really, one of the best ways is really the more you work with animals, especially with cattle, you see there are physical signs that they'll manifest if they're not feeling good. If they're not feeling right, cattle will do pretty much a lot of the same things. They're not going to want to stand up. They'll want to lay down a lot, which is, it's a good thing that they're laying down, but they'll get up. They eat at certain times of the day. When we come up and bring our machines up to feed them, the whole herd gets up and goes to eat. Like, so if you see one laying down in the back, okay, there's something going on there because her natural drive to eat, it's a strong drive. So as soon as they hear our machine come driving down the road, they'll
Hmm.
all get up and get moving over to where they know the food's coming. So that's a way. Looking at their faces a lot, their ears will get really droopy. Their eyes will be, they'll get actually they'll kind of sink in a little bit, which kind of shows that they're getting a little dehydrated. So if a
Hmm.
cow's not feeling good, she's not going to want to eat. She's not going to want to drink. So you kind of have to learn how to see those signs in their body that tells me, hey, there's something not right here. She's not feeling well, so she's not eating right. So when her natural kind of physical balance gets thrown out of whack a little bit, her body starts to show that to me. So I have to be watchful. We're looking at our cows every day. We're driving around the pens. A lot of them older cow pens, we're walking through those pens and we're looking, we're watching, and we're paying
Hmm.
attention. For our older cows, a sign if they're not feeling good, if they're giving milk, they'll start giving less milk. And that's a sign. We can see how much our cows are getting every day. And a
Hmm.
big sign of a cow who's not feeling well is her milk production. Her normal milk production will actually drop significantly, and that's
Hmm.
a telltale sign for us as well.
Wow. Now you mentioned that milk production. It was perfect timing from return. We've had a bunch of people curious about, do you have any idea how much milk your farm produces in one day? And I can help convert that to gallons if you need help with that. Any idea on how many pounds you guys produce in a day?
So right now we're doing about 15,000 gallons a day
Fif
right now.
Wow, 15,000 gallons of milk a day. Can you imagine? So we definitely we've got about 40,000 classes in the entire program of Adopt a Cow. So we could feed every single class a gallon of milk in like 3 days. just from your farm.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, and I know that was a lot of people were curious. So you guys are feeding the world. Now, when that milk, obviously it's turned into milk or other products, do you know either where it goes and or maybe what brand or store that your milk tends to go to that if people were to be out shopping and stuff, they would know it potentially be coming from your farm?
Yeah. So most of the milk in Fallon in this area goes to, we have an actual powder plant here in Fallon, and that plant is designed to export, which means to ship dairy products out of the United States. So a lot of our milk goes there and it's turned into powder, different products. It's actually
Huh.
an ingredients plant. They can make a lot of different things and they'll ship it around. There's also a place in Reno, which is an hour away from us, where they bottle milk, they make cottage cheese, they'll do just all kinds of different dairy products, and that's called Model Dairy. So
Ah.
that's if you drink Model Dairy milk around, and that kind of sticks around the Reno area. I don't know how far it gets away from here, but that's kind of a local brand. But
Hmm.
they will also take contracts from Walmart and Safeway up here in northern Nevada. Not always, but every now and then they'll bottle milk for Walmart, bottle milk for Safeway. It's always kind of changing, but for sure the Model Dairy brand up around here in this area, that you can be sure that's most likely going to be from local cows here in northern Nevada.
That's really cool. Thank you, Farmer Tim, for sharing that. What a neat idea. So if anyone's local and near you, you can definitely check out maybe buying that model dairy and model milk. Could be drinking some milk from your adopted calves, mom. So that would be pretty neat. Farmer Tim, we have
Yep.
absolutely loved getting to chat with you today. I know everyone, thank you so much for joining us. There have been a lot of really great questions coming in. We tried to get to as many of them as we could, but I know just thank you so much. I know some people were curious about like personalities, and I think our calves today they were kind of showing off their different personalities, and the ones behind you are even showing off their different personalities. Who's curious? Who's not? So yes, cows definitely have their own personalities, and everyone's just a little bit unique. But you also kind of shared that they still like routine. You do everything you can to make sure things don't change and keep things constant. That way they're always happy and taken care of. So that makes sense. And that's why everyone's a little curious because us being in this pen is definitely a little out of routine. So they're very curious today to check in on us. Farmer Tim, I before we wrap up today, I do have just one more question for you. And you mentioned it, you talked a little bit about it, but we've had some folks curious about did you need an education for this and to be a dairy farmer? And then also, if you can just share, if you did, why did you choose that and then come back to the farm? Why did you choose to be a dairy farmer and do this for a living?
Yeah, so there are universities that are dedicated to agriculture, but specifically to dairy.
Mm-hmm.
So I got education over in Logan, Utah, Utah State. I went to school over there. Um, I wanted to come back here because I liked the environment that I was working in. I get to work with family. It's a family farm.
Mm-hmm.
I have myself, my brother, and two first cousins. We're management right now. My dad and my uncle are the official owners, but they're retired and semi-retired, but they're still around. So I get
Yeah.
to work with my family. My children can come to work with me. Like I said at the beginning, I was able to come work with my dad, and he was
Mm-hmm.
able to teach me some really good lessons, some lessons that I would not have been able to learn if we
Yeah.
hadn't been out here. Like, I mean, and so as I got older, I realized how important that was to me and how it molded me into who I am, who I
Mm-hmm.
was, who I am. And I wanted to give that opportunity to my kids so they could choose if they want to come back and to be able to work and to be a part of a family business, to be a
Mm-hmm.
part of a business that is about providing a healthy, nutritious product for the world. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important. The world, a lot of our big cities
Oh, Farmer Tim, you got muted for a second there. There you go. You're good.
on farms.
A lot of your, yep, go ahead.
Go.
Yep, you're good now.
Okay, we're good. Sorry, I
No,
got
you're
cut off
good.
there. So anyways, that gives us the opportunity. just to be able to provide that product
Hmm.
to the world. I just
Yeah.
felt like that was something I really did want to do. And I talked a little bit about what I love about farming. So I've
Yeah.
always enjoyed those things, working outside and working with animals.
Oh, we love that you just, you found this passion, you reignited your passion for this by going to college for it and learning more and then coming back and just truly caring about the cows and then ultimately caring about providing a product for your community, something that we all need in our diets to stay healthy, to stay active, to stay strong. And of course, enjoy those sweet ones too, like the ice cream or some yummy, yummy yogurts and things like that. So the ice cream was probably my favorite one, Tim. But I don't know what your favorite dairy product is, but I know I'm sure we've got lots of dairy lovers on here too that can join in on that. So thank you so much, Farmer Tim, for everything you've done as a farmer and taking care of our beautiful girls this year and the entire herd, and just sharing your farm with us. We've absolutely loved kind of taking this virtual step on your farm today, and getting to see what it's like for you as a dairy farmer and see what their life is as a calf, on your farm. So this has been a lot of fun. And to everyone that's joining us today, you know a farmer now. You know Farmer Tim, you know his family, you know his farm. And as he said, he loves sharing his story and his passion and his farm. So ask him, ask us if you have any questions about the dairy industry or what's happening or anything like that. Always ask at the source, the people who are working with these cows every day. Kind of that slogan, "Ask farmers, not Google." It could not be more true. So reach out to a farmer. You now have that connection with somebody, and they're always happy to help and answer any questions. Farmer Tim, is there anything else you want to share with us today before we tune off? I know we had some people curious if you got any of their letters or anything. There are people that were asking about that, but was there anything else you wanted to share with us today?
I did. I got lots of letters. Thank you so much. I haven't been able to reply to everybody, but I just thank you, thank you, thank you. I have had some neat things. My family's loved it. My kids have loved it.
Oh,
Thank you so much for loving my animals. Thanks for caring. It means a
hmm,
lot. It really does. Agriculture is not always the easiest thing to do, but to know so many people care and that they take the time to learn and to share that with the kids in their classrooms, I really appreciate that. My
hmm,
family appreciates it. Everybody who's part of my business appreciates it because
yeah,
by sharing this with other people, we just hope that everybody realizes just how important it is. Agriculture is important.
yeah.
Growing food for the world is an important thing. So we love what we do. We love
Hmm.
our animals, and we just hope you share that with everybody you come in touch with. Just
Awesome.
know how much we love them and how much we care for them, and how much
Yeah.
we are grateful to you.
Awesome. Oh, thank you so much, Farmer Tim. This has been wonderful. And thank you all for joining us today. As he said, thank you for choosing dairy and agriculture in the classroom. We really appreciate it and taking the time to learn. And don't forget, registration and re-enrollment opened today. So if you had fun this year, you can go ahead and just log in and just simply click re-enroll and join the fun for next year. We'll start in October. But until then, folks, this is the end of our program for the year. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great summer. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.